combo sets. Party.
Let's buy fish. Oh, I already own a good amount of fish. So I won't buy fish. Dog. Just walking in there. I can walk right through. Ah. No, maybe I should spend some time with the characters I now know. When the den is pouring. Something.
A hot cup of coffee isn't just for the early birds. Sometimes stopping to take
First things first. First things second. Sacrifice bringer. Pompeii. Okay, so pretty much this is the same. Energy generation, damage dealt by aftershocks and chain attacks.
Eradicate all evil. Standing by. I've got your back. Only the brave will win. That's me!
Trigger. Trigger.
Number 0, Ambi. Dun 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 dun.
When another character in a squad can... When citizens activates perfect block, retaliation, defensive assist, or basic attack dead end. Basic attack dead end. Okay. So that's the deal.
Let me at him. Recalibrating. Down strategy. Move behind me. Adjusting for wind. What you deserve. It's time. Got you covered. The target's exposed. Come on, face me head on. In the head. Let's roll. Resolve. Keep focused. Recalibrating. Now you can. Press the advantage. Victory is in sight. In the head. Time at Sniper's Creed. One shot, one kill. Light him up. You're in what you deserve. Fight over. Now you pay. You won't back down.
That was done.
Show no mercy. Now you can. Adjusting for wind. Right on cue. The target's exposed. Dual left London.
Come on. Enemy witness fire.
This is the path I follow.
I would never turn down Lord Phaethon. Please, lead the way, Lord Phaethon.
Eradicate all
Good day, Lord Phaethon.
Wanna be my research subject?
Ooh, we really harmonize.
Is the concert starting?
Huh? And
All right, I'll take the mic.
Wow.
Hurts, hit him where it hurts.
Don't you know? It might try skirting the
Found your weakness. The final act begins now.
This song is dedicated to the world. Out of my sight.
Wanna know what lurks in the darkness?
Just this once.
Hit him where it hurts.
Don't underestimate me.
Here's a taste of the abyss.
What an eyesore. Let the melody move you.
Just give up.
Oh, but look, who dares get between me and Lord Phaethon?
It's okay. Music can work miracles.
Don't underestimate me. Oh, for Lord Phaethon!
Let's not die.
Don't underestimate.
Heads up. Good cut.
Just this one. Better not get my
Found your weakness.
Leave it to me.
Yep. Now, you're the prey. Hit him where it hurts.
My song is with you. What an ice.
Wanna know what lurks in the darkness? Want some more?
Who dares get between me and Lord Satan? Oh, for Lord Satan!
Found your weakness. Careful.
Out of my sight. The melody knows you.
Just give up. Careful. It's back. Here's a taste of the abyss.
It's okay. Music can work miracles. This song is dedicated to the world. What an eyesore. Don't you know? Get my dress dirty and you'll pay. Out of my sight. Don't underestimate me. It's the rhythm.
Either physical.
Eradicate all evil.
Eradicate all evil.
Want a glass of nitro fuel? Good day, Proxy. Let's fire it up!
It's over.
Ready for a fiery feast? Let's pick it up! Hey!
Weakling.
Why aren't you laughing?
Cut your hair.
I'll win it. End of story.
Victory. The only option. It's over. Press forward.
This party is just getting started. Home run!
My blade is already sheathed. Weakling.
Please refine me!
Purging slash. Yeah.
Eh. Hmm. Easter, but not
This is the
ice.
path I follow.
Wata wata. Wata wata.
All right, I'll take a peek. Down strategy. You're up.
Adjusting for wind.
Copy. Move behind me.
There it goes.
You're in my sight. I'll bow. It's time. Press the advantage.
Take this!
Right on cue. What you deserve. Show no mercy. It's time.
It's over now.
Pierce right through. Now you pay. Loyalty. What you deserve. Down strategy.
Perfect shot. Make it fun for me.
The target's exposed.
All right, together now.
Right on cue.
Is our prey stay focused?
It's time.
Recalibrating. This bullet will reach its mark. Have another.
Down strategy. Supporting position.
You better thank me.
Here. Leave it to me, Andy.
Ether vision activate.
Move behind me. You're up. Sound strategy. Now you pay. No mercy. What you deserve. Loyalty. Right on cue. Recalibrating.
Have another.
Now you pay.
There goes. Perfect shot. Make it fun for me. Go for
Press
it.
the advantage. Dual electro ending. What you deserve. It's time. Sound strategy. Now you
Leave it to this bullet. Will reach its mark. No more games. Let's go.
Current overload system. Fire support ready. Duck. It's time. Off balance. Up your face. Now you pay. You won't back down. You're in Don't touch me. Found your weakness. Don't underestimate me. Don't get hit. I'll make it painless. Hit him where it hurts. Oh, for Lord's sake! Found your weakness. Don't underestimate me. No escape. Here's a taste of the abyss. Notice me. Lord. Hit him where it hurts. Change is not my song. It's with you. Careful. I bite. Out of my sight. Leave it to me. Find cover. Found your weakness. Oh, for Lord's sake! Hit him where it hurts.
Fire, physical, ice.
Want a glass of nitro fuel?
Oh, we in the cause.
Let's fire it.
Okay, well, that explains some things.
Let me at him.
Any last words? Power systems down!
Victory is in sight. Just give up.
This party is just getting started.
Now, you're the prey. Come on, face me head on. Just give up.
My blade is already heated.
Weakling.
Let our souls resonate.
Shadowless blade. The cold is silent.
No forgiveness.
Yeah, 336.
Let's start the experiment. I only handle technical matters.
I would never turn down Lord Phaethon. Please, lead the way, Lord Phaethon.
Huh? And
Good day, Lord Phaethon. I would never turn down Lord Phaethon. Vivian is at your command.
Wanna be my research subject?
Okay, Sandy. But then the second one is this one.
Let's start the experiment.
Good day, Lord Phaethon.
looking for intel? Or higher?
I am the Eye of Obel. Only the brave. Okay, let's get ready.
Instead of Popro, we have Caesar.
I'm calibrating. Ether vision activate. Victory's mine! Wipe them out. Think ahead. This bullet will reach its mark. Target's exposed.
Current overload.
I'm
all you've got.
pressing all the wrong buttons.
One step further! Adjusting for wind. Recalibrating. The brave fear nothing. Sustaining fire.
Think ahead. Resolve.
Okay. Let's hope for the best in the second half.
It's over. It's over.
My blade is already. Victory, the only option. It's over. Who dares get between me and Lord Satan? My blade is already sheathed. My soul is with you. Shadowless blade. Unfind soul.
Maybe MVP. The fucking jumping asshole. I feel like I should go do Harumasa stuff. Potentially alright. Not at all. Or maybe actually, yes. Only two substats needed are attack percent and proficiency.
Weakling. My blade.
No, 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 no. No, no. No, no. No, 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 no.
A hot cup of coffee isn't just for the early birds. It can also be for the night owls.
Right.
Adjusting for wind. Courage is power! Knowledge is too! is the path I...
Good day, Lord Phaeton. I would never turn down Lord Phaeton.
Eradicate all evil.
Faith and smart. Yep. To 5+1 signature weapon Vivian build 474. Who the fuck is this user? Eleven 10 10 10 9 6. Completely useless. We already did it. And now... Mhm. Okay, time to talk to Bernice.
Chilled nitro fuel would be the perfect match for this movie. Suddenly, I feel like drinking some. Can I watch my videotape here before I go?
Sure. But I don't think we have any nitro fuel.
Let's go. I brought my own.
Where'd you just pull that nitro fuel from? Do a spin, Bernice. I want to see where it came from.
Does that really matter? Don't underestimate the fuel expert of the Sons of Calydon.
Do a spin. No, I just like the also Bernice.
Oh, I love that movie! Everyone else in the world turned into paper but me. Don't you think that'd be super interesting? Now that's a world I'd like to live in.
To burn everything.
I'd bring my fuel and flamethrower, of course, so I could play with everyone.
Can I ask what you'd plan on doing?
You wanna know? Then come with me. Just me and you.
Nope.
The problem with the outer ring is that there aren't enough things to burn. That's the only thing I like about New Eridu. I might start coming to New Eridu more often. Mind if I come by and hang out now and then?
You're always welcome. It'd be great if you visited more often.
Okay, it's a deal then. Come on, let's down this nitro fuel to toast our friendship.
We should stand it somewhere I could. Look, she's at my home. And all that. Three days, oh come on. It is what it is. Subrain. I like those. Page and story iron. One centimeter. Ah. She's fucking tall. Hmm. Hmm. Zero one time. I fucking hate Raptor. Those are fucking funny.
Hey everyone, so Escoffier is coming out very soon. We've got some early access footage. She is insane. I don't know what else to say, to be honest. Actually, I do know what to say, because today I'll be going over exactly how her kit works, what makes her so strong, how you can play her, and the various different advice that we can give, where she works well, where she doesn't work well, how strong her buffs are, her weapon is. This is some C0 gameplay. You can see it is very interesting. Ayaka's doing a lot of damage here, but the team in general is doing a lot of damage. You need to pay attention to. The team single target damage looks very nice, destroying this enemy, which you might have been struggling with on your previous Ayaka team. But if you thought this is impressive, this is just C0 gameplay. Wait till I show you what C6 gameplay looks like. And just wait for it, guys. Just wait for it. Instant damage. You can't even tell what was going on. There's just so much cryo. Let's do that in slow motion again. Try and see all the cryo damage. There's damage from Ayaka, damage from Shenhe, Escoffier's damage as well. Yeah, it's just hard to tell what's going on. And yeah, just a reminder, all the footage is coming from the CN early access videos. That's just how you're going to get the access to the best information, because unfortunately these days the CN players are the only ones who really get to do the thorough testing, the abyss testing and everything. So how do you summarize Escoffier's kit? You can say she's a powerful debuffer, a powerful sub DPS, and a very good healer. More specifically, her overall team buffs are very similar to what you'd get with Kazuha or Shilonen. Her sub DPS is up there with some of the strongest sub DPSs in the game. She covers the healing slot, but her healing ranges depending on your build, which we'll get into. And her overall advantages is that this support and this sub DPS is constant, it's very sustained, and she has no downtime. But the restriction is her teams to get these effects are basically locked to only playing with cryo and hydro teammates. And by that we mean that she has very similar restriction to how Chevreuse gets the majority of her value when you're specifically playing her with Pyro and Electro. Kinda similar as well to how Nilu only gets her full benefits when she's played with only Dendro and Hydro. So like how a Chevreuse team might look like this, for example, an Escoffier team won't work with someone like Kazuha here, but instead you have to play teams with just Cryo and Hydro, or there could also be worlds where you just play a team with 4 cryos. So let's get into her kit. So the easiest way to understand what her skill does is it's like sub DPS, like Emily, Farina, those kinds of characters. And it's this little pot that follows you around. And it has 20 seconds uptime with a 15 seconds cooldown. And you can see here, it's kind of single target, but the range is very nice. However, that's not to say it doesn't have some AoE. You can see here, if enemies are decently grouped, you can hit both at the same time. Let me just slow that down. Like, this range here is not bad, hitting both enemies with that. So like, for example, how Hu Tao's charge attack can sometimes hit 2 enemies, but that is very different from how Yoimi's bow attacks can basically never hit 2 enemies. The sub DPS hits, you're also getting about 21 hits in 20 seconds. So basically 1 hit every second. And you can see there, unbuffed damage 15k with a pretty decent build. This is the maximum range of your Escoffier hits as well, which is very good actually. I did actually want to compare this, so I was comparing with Emily and Chiori to see the range and the damage. So in comparison, here's me showing Emily's damage in a burning team. This is her with Deepwood, by the way. But you can see her damage is kind of similar, maybe kind of even weaker, to be honest. And then if you're looking at the ranges, this is my Chiori with her C1, and it is very similar. But bear in mind that Chiori C1 has increased range by 50%. And if you compare it with Emily's skill, at a similar range, you're just not going to be hitting with Emily's skill at all. And Emily's skill has decent range, by the way. It's got no joke either, but you can see Escoffier's is kind of just the best of both worlds. That was her elemental skill. Now if you look at her elemental burst, it's got a very nice animation and it has an initial pretty nice hit, and then it heals your team with a very nice AoE team-wide heal, and then it gives you 9 ticks of healing on your on-field DPS. So that's very important to know. She doesn't have constant AoE team-wide healing. It's just that first initial tick, you can see the 8,000 and then 3,000 to your on-field DPS. But it is important to remember, even if she doesn't have constant AoE team-wide healing, her fully healing your on-field character can activate Farina's A1 talent here, which gives a bit of extra team-wide healing. This healing scales off of Escoffier's attack, which means you have to figure out how you want to balance Escoffier's damage with crit stats and cryo damage stats, or building her for attack and getting a bit less damage on her but nice healing. And I think the overall recommendation might actually be just to build her for as much damage as possible. Here's some comparisons with the different builds and the different amounts of healing that you get. So with a rough build like this, C0 with her signature weapon, you're getting about 8,000 for your initial team-wide heal and then 3,300 for your on-field character. If you change that to an attack cup, the healing is quite a bit better. If you don't have a signature weapon and you have a cryo goblet, the healing will drop quite a bit. But overall, regardless of which one you pick, the healing is still very nice. Now, in my opinion, if you have the choice, what should you pick? The thing is, the cryo damage goblet is slightly more optimal because Escoffier's damage is just so relevant in these teams. And on top of that, the cryo damage goblet, you can actually get attack percent substats in your actual piece itself, which means it has a higher ceiling. Whereas if you're using attack goblet, yes, your healing is probably slightly better, but you cannot get attack percent in the actual subsets itself, meaning your artifact is less likely to be as good. Now, having said that, attack goblets are going to be more common than cryo damage goblets, especially if you're trying to get one on set, like this, for example. So use what you have, but that is just my experience. Personally, I'm going to be using this one here. So that was her sub DPS with her. My experience personally, I'm going to be using this one here. So that was her sub DPS with her skill, her healing with her burst. Now this is maybe even more important, which is her talent. Now, if you remember in my previous video, we were speculating just how much resistance shred would she be giving. And now it's been revealed, if you're playing her in a team full of cryo and hydro teammates, it can reach a massive 55% resistance shred, which is insane, right? This is a lot bigger than what Chevrus gives. Chevrus gives 40%. But honestly, this 55% is actually very easily explainable. If you're only playing 3 hydro and cryo, you get 15%. So playing 1 more hydro or cryo gives you 40% more shred. And what else gives you 40% shred is, instead of that final freeze teammate, if you play an Animo teammate like Kazuha, and then you get 40% here. So the logic behind this and why this number is so high is because it makes up for the fact that you're not playing that Animo character in your 4th slot. Now, does that mean that Escoffier's buffing is equal to your Kazuha's? Well, no, actually, because there are stipulations around this shred here, which is that you have to switch in your Kazuha or your other Animo character every 10 seconds. And you have to switch in every time a new enemy spawns in, because it's a debuff that is conditional on them swirling. Whereas how Escoffier's one works is that all you have to do is hit enemies with either her skill or the burst, and then you get 12 seconds of this shred, which basically means she gives your freeze team a permanent 55% resistance shred, which is massive. It's massive quality of life. It's very easy to navigate around, very easy to use. You're not gonna have any issues getting this debuff. And her last talent, this is actually where her single target healing comes from. It's 138% of her attack, which is very interesting that they decided to do this, because usually healers, they have their healing in one of their talents, like Charlotte has her healing in her burst, which means you can actually improve their healing by leveling it up. But with Escoffier's single target healing, it's always gonna be this number. So how much sub DPS is she actually able to do with her skill? So this is with level 9 talents, C0, and with the R1 deathmatch. It's a decent build, nothing too crazy. It uses 4-piece golden troop to boost her skill damage, and these are the stats. And you're getting about 12k hits. Now, if you're using a signature weapon instead, your damage is increased to 18k. which means her weapon is giving about a 30% increase over a deathmatch. Now there are some weapon comparisons here. It depends on your exact build, it depends on the exact team you're playing, and we'll get into what her weapon does exactly later, but yeah, it is a massive increase. In fact, one of the issues with polearms, and this is also an issue with Shenhe as well, is that there isn't really that many good 4-star options. There's a lot of 5-star weapons which aren't even going to compare to her signature weapon either. But once you get into the 4 stars, if you don't have the deathmatch, if you don't buy the battle pass, you're really struggling for weapons to use here. And yeah, ideally you don't really want to use Fav Lance, because although this is a nice support weapon, Escoffier is a sub DPS and her damage will be a lot worse. It's very similar to the issue with Emily. Some people were having to run Favonius Lance and that damage is horrible. There's stuff like Wavebreaker's Fin and the Catch, but this is for burst damage, not skill damage. So these skill damage sub DPSs, it is really a struggle trying to find a good weapon for them. Now let's see how big our red shred is. This is the Garnu's raw damage. This Garnu is hitting for 18k charge attacks. That is without any buffs. Now if you use Scoffier's skill to apply the 55% red shred, Garnu's charge attack now goes up to a 25k hit, which is a 36% increase. On top of that, in your team, you're likely to have an attack buff somewhere. For example, I highly recommend a Tenacity of the Millilith set on your Farina if you're playing Farina in these teams. 20% attack to the team, and Farina can also benefit from this HP as well. You could also be using Noblesse on someone, so if you add the 20% attack on top of that somewhere, this goes into 47%. So getting a 20% attack buff somewhere, you're getting an extra 8% damage, 27 to 25%. So these teams, it's quite easy to stack a lot of buffs, but it's not over yet. Like I said, we haven't gone into the specifics around Escoffier's weapon, but if you are using Escoffier's signature weapon, you get an even bigger increase. Look at that, 30k charge attacks. And this is pretty consistent. You will see Escoffier's weapon is about an 11% increase to your on-field character. Again, we'll get into exactly what the weapon does later, but as you can see, there are a lot of buffs in these teams. Just for comparison, you can see the buffs that Kazuha would give in a team. So with his 40% damage bonus and res shred, he's increasing Garnu's damage there by about similar to what you'd get from Escoffier's res shred and the tenacity buff. But again, like I said, Escoffier's buffs that you get in a team like this are almost permanent, whereas buffs in another team can be comparable, but there are a lot more restrictions. Just to demonstrate how strong Escoffier is, here's her plus Xingqiu, who obviously doesn't do that much in freeze teams, versus Kazuha and Chilonen. So a full-on hyper carry Ayaka single target versus Escoffier plus Xingqiu, and you can see that the damage on the new team is just better, and Xingqiu is kind of like a dead slot in these teams. So the elephant in the room, you might be thinking Escoffier has top tier sub DPS, top tier support buffs, top tier healing. How is she able to be this good? How is that even balanced? And the thing is, on the surface, it might not seem balanced because she basically does everything. Like I said, she's doing the damage that my Emily or Chiori would be doing, but those characters don't have any support, and she's doing the support that your Kazuha or Chilonen would have, but she's actually dealing very strong sub DPS on top of that. And that's not even getting into the fact that she's a good healer as well. But I think what I've realized is that recently the game has been trending to where it wants you to play specific cores. And I think within that, Escoffier does actually seem pretty well balanced. She is very strong, but it's not unreasonably strong. Because if you think about it, a lot of what she does is actually not that much different than what Chevreuse does. Chevreuse gives you the red shred, less than Escoffier, true, but Chevreuse is also giving you a massive attack buff up to 40%. On top of that, Chevreuse can even give you up to 60% damage bonus as well. She's not the best healer, you know, your teams can die quite often, but is still healing nonetheless. And technically you also can build her for damage, although this kind of contradicts because her damage scales off attack stats, whereas you want to be building her with HP stats. Still, I think of it like a core. If you want to play your Electro DPS, then they really want you to be playing a Chevreuse. All these teams have very similar cores. They have your Chevreuse and they have a very strong buffer like Ian-san or Kujo Sara. that is the core for electro DPSs and some pyro DPSs. But for pyro DPSs, there is also the melt core, and Bennett gives massive buffs, and Lali also gives massive buffs and enables the melt reaction, which gives even more buffs to your DPS. And that is a very powerful core that they want you to play as well. So my logic is that Escoffier is just another one of these strong core teammates, because if you think about it, Freeze doesn't really have a core before this, and it's weaker at a baseline, because if you think about it, the actual reaction itself, Freeze doesn't actually do any extra damage, and a lot of the time, especially against bosses, it barely even works. In fact, it doesn't work. And then on top of that, if you're unable to get Freeze, then you're losing a lot of damage. You're losing the buffs that you get from Blizzard Strayer. A lot of these enemies, if you weren't able to swirl, it means you're not able to get Kazuha's VV. You're not able to get his damage bonus, and you might not even be getting cryo res. So you could lose 15% crit rate, maybe even 40% crit rate. You're losing 55% crit rate at times, on top of massive damage bonus and shred. So now if you think about it, Escoffier is almost like a fix to the reaction. It's fixing the issues where you are punished if you aren't able to freeze the enemies, because you're always getting her shred. And a sub DPS, you could kind of think about it like it's making up for the fact that freeze doesn't do any damage. Now obviously there are massive issues around these freeze teams, and like I talked about in my previous video, cryo characters are just so rare. Look at Shenhe, she barely even reruns. Even the cryo DPSs, they barely run as well. And on top of that, some of the characters like Ayaka doesn't have good synergy with a lot of cryo or hydro characters. So the issue is that you're forced into very specific premium teams. And for example, if you don't have Shenhe and you want to play your Ayaka, well, you're really lacking then, because there isn't that many other options. Like Lali that you can play, and Lali can technically hold the scroll set, and she could technically hold TTDS, but very conveniently, like I said, you could argue she was designed for the melt core, meaning she doesn't actually give cryo res shred here. But Seat Lali is still a 5-star, so if you don't have Seat Lali, who do you play then? Well, then you're looking at characters like Rosaria, Kaya, maybe even Diona, and then it's just very rough.
Strike a pose! Time to shine!
Obey! By ordinance divine!
Whirling snow! Southward swirl!
25k hits. So see, Lali has scrolls and TTDS and a shield, obviously.
Let the world collide! Get to work! Suffer the wrath! Here! My apologies! Coming Sanjuari! Sometsu!
The damage for Ayaka is very similar,
Take flight! Manifest!
Show no
excluding the
mercy.
quills. But because let's not get it twisted, Shenhe is insane in these teams. Shenhe was pretty good before, but the thing is, a lot of these new freeze teams are triple cryo teams, which means usually her strength was based around the fact that only 2 of your teammates would be activating quills. But in triple cryo teams, you're getting 3 genuine cryo damage dealers, which means Shenhe's value's even higher. On top of that, it seems that the meta might actually be a mix set, because usually people used to play Noblesse. Her quills scale off of attack, but Noblesse also gives you attack and it buffs your DPS as well, so that worked out very efficiently. And before, mix sets used to be pretty competitive. Usually Noblesse was better, but now that you can proc even more quills in triple cryo teams, and a lot of the gameplay I have seen, it does seem to be the case where the meta is mixed, which means you're getting even more damage from your quills. On top of that, triple cryo means Shenhe has less energy issues, which means you don't need to stack a lot of energy recharge, which means in a way you're potentially swapping an entire Sand's worth of energy recharge into attack for even more quill damage. On top of that, if you're lucky and you manage to get her C1, this C1 is even stronger. She is way more efficient than how she used to be in these teams. And on top of that, it's even better, because triple cryo also reduces the energy recharge needs on your DPS, which means they need less ER, which means they can get more crit stats. And the more crit stats your DPS has, the more crit stats that the quills can scale on, which means the quills get extra stronger. I'm very interested in calculating just exactly how much value you're getting from Shenhe, but all those things must compound into massive increases from before. But like I said, it doesn't matter how strong she is if you don't have her. So that is one of the big issues with these teams. Here's the YS Helper character ownership rankings, which again is not every single player who plays the game, but it's a good indication of how characters are owned amongst players who are doing the Abyss. And as you can see here, Shenhe is not that popular at all. Even Seat Lali's ownership is almost double, and she just came out. But having said that, this Shenhe ownership is amongst the whole player base that entered in this survey. It might be the case where amongst people who own Ayaka and people who play Ayaka, people who play Ganyu, Shenhe's ownership is higher. But again, this is just statistics. It's more important whether you yourself have Shenhe, or if you don't have Shenhe, if you have characters like Yelan, although again, Yelan works more for characters like Risley or Ayato. You wouldn't really play her with Ganyu. Now those were the obvious DPSs. There is this kind of meme going around. And it's playing Novile in a freeze team and seeing if he actually gets a new team. This seems to be a popular discussion in both China and the global regions. And the reason why this is interesting is because Novile is designed to be played with multiple elements in his teams, and that's because of this draconic stack thing. But if you're playing him in a freeze team, you're only having hydro and cryo, which means your stacks are going to drop potentially to even 110%. Now this is a final multiplier, which means it's a direct multiplier on his charge attacks, which means the damage drop off is massive. And why he has that talent is basically to nerf his synergy with Farina, because Farina's synergy is so good with him, and also Farina benefits from all the same buffs that he does, which means both their damage goes up. So the game developers realized in order to sort of weaken that synergy, it meant if you're playing with Farina, you go from doing 160% to 125%. Now obviously as we know, Neuvillette C1 is incredibly popular. In fact, in the usage rate surveys, more people have his C1 than have his C0. Obviously, that's not the entire player base, but it's a good indication about how popular C1 is. And the C1 gives you a free draconic stack, and the main benefit for that is so you don't lose by playing Farina. But the issue is, if you're playing 2 cryos, if you have his C1, it's even more punishing than normal. But even so, you're still getting a lot of buffs in this team, so how does it really compare? And on top of that, Farina doesn't have the draconic stack restriction herself, so she's just getting buffs in this team. So how does the damage compare? Well, what we've learned is Neuvillette basically always does less damage. If you have a C0, he's doing slightly less damage, and if you have C1, he's definitely doing a lot less damage. So you can see there is quite a big damage loss, even with Bennett not doing anything in this team. He's just there for activating the draconic stacks. But that is just Neuvillette's personal damage. If you look at the whole team's damage, because the rest of the team is just benefiting from freeze, it's actually very comparable. And the reason why it's comparable is, like I said earlier in the guide, Escoffier's res shred and her sub DPS is permanent. There's no downtime. Whereas teammates like Kazuha, Shilonen, even Vape teams, there is going to be downtime in your buffs and debuffs. So what does it mean overall? It means these new freeze teams actually theoretically can be very slightly higher DPS than Neuvillette's old hypercarry teams at C0. However, do I recommend putting Escoffier for your Neuvillette? No. Why? Because we haven't gotten into the drawbacks yet, and there are many drawbacks. Number one is that Neuvillette's damage is very hingent on the builds that you have. You get a lot of extra crit in this team, meaning you have to build around getting 15% extra crit from Cryo Resonance. And we know it's very easy for Neuvillette to have too much crit rate. I have only a small amount of crit rate in my artifacts, and once you add the 36% from Marechaussee Hunter, I'm at 86% here myself, which means if I'm playing him in a cryo team, I'm going to overcap. On top of that, I have his signature weapon, and you won't even be able to play the Battle Pass weapon if you have it, because the Battle Pass weapon will obviously give way too much crit. So in order to not lose too much damage, you'll need to adjust your builds and reduce your crit rate, while still having the same good level build. The other issue is that this team basically caps out at C0 with 4-star weapons. Like I said, Neuvillette, you can't really use the Battle Pass weapon. Same thing with Escoffier, because, and this is where we get into her vertical investment, her weapon is amazing. What it does is it basically has Staff of Homer level stats. It's high base attack with 66% crit damage. Instead of giving you the flat attack from Staff of Homer, it gives you 24%, which can actually equal more than Staff of Homer. And then on top of that, if your polearm character is a healer, then whenever they heal, you get 32% attack to the wielder and to the character they healed, which is insane for most teams, because those attack buffs, you'll be buffing your Shenhe's Quills because you're increasing Shenhe's attack, and also your Cryo DPS. However, the Neuvillette team doesn't scale with attack, which means your Farina and your Neuvillette are not going to be getting bossed. On top of that, Escoffier's constellations are very much oriented around cryo DPSs. We're not going to get into all of them, but just getting into the C1, her C1 increases your team's cryo crit damage by 60%. Again, Neuvillette and Farina are not going to be able to benefit from that. Another disadvantage, and this is a very important one, is that you're not really playing into Neuvillette's strengths. With characters like Neuvillette who have such good quality of life, you know, with his massive AoE and his range, the more you buff Neuvillette, the more you're playing into those strengths. Like just for an example here, all of this stuff here that I'm getting and I'm just destroying everyone, the more you buff Neuvillette's damage, the more you're able to abuse that. So with strong characters like this, you really want to play into their strengths, and the freeze teams don't really do that, which means the freeze teams are more single target orientated, which is again a massive weakness. Also, let's not forget, but this team is actually very specific. It's actually more of an Exodia team than a hypercarry team like this, because if you're playing Neuvillette as a hypercarry, to be fair, you could play him with almost anyone as long as they're buffing his damage. Whereas a team like this is very specific. It is basically these 4 characters. Why is that? It's because Neuvillette doesn't really have good synergy with cryo characters. To be fair, a lot of people play him with Charlotte at the moment, but that's just for her healing. If you're looking at buffs, what Citlali does, she's obviously giving you this res shred, which means if you don't have Seat Lally, then your Escoffier for Neuvillette team is having a massive damage loss. Lastly, and I made this video 4 months ago, Neuvillette upgrade order priority. What this all means is there are dozens of things that you could get instead of getting Escoffier that will always be a damage increase for him. But even though I don't recommend you going out of your way to pull Escoffier for Neuvillette, I still think these teams are options if you already have Escoffier, and if you want to mix it up, if you want to experiment with some teams, if you want a nice, chill, comfortable team, and if you just want to have more flexibility with your Neuvillette, you sometimes want to play this team or that team, then it is an option. Back to our weapon though, because this presents an interesting discussion because of just how strong this weapon is, and it's actually kind of universal, even if we just ignore the support part first. Like I said, it's very similar to Staff of Homer. So if we look at Staff of Homer on my Emily, the base attack and crit damage are the same, but you get the attack bonus 0.8% of your HP. If I calculate 23152 HP times 0.008, she's getting 185 flat attack with this. But what Escoffier's weapon is you get 12% attack, and then if your character's off field, you get an extra 12% attack. So if instead of this attack you get from Staff of Homer, I look at Emily's base attack, which is 943 times 0.24, and you can see there 226. So I'm actually getting about 40 extra attack, which is not big, but it's no joke. It's very similar to like 1 extra attack percent substat. And then on top of that, the buff that you get from being a healer, that means it's not just strong for Escoffier, but if we look at the rest of our roster, who else is a healer here? Eon-san, Chevreuse, and Mika. These can all utilize this polearm. And then on top of that, characters like Xiangling can snapshot the attack buff, which means Chevreuse can use it in a team like this. Although I was doing some testing, because of the way Cloran's healing works, she converts healing received into Bond of Life. So we were talking about it in stream. It is likely that it will still count as healing Cloran, so she will get the buff. It's not guaranteed until we see in the game. If you're playing Raiden, she could benefit. If you're playing Moika, she would benefit. Usually using Favonius Lance, which is very nice. It gives some energy, but if you could have the opportunity to get extra attack buffs, you would take it. Same thing with Eon-san in a team like this. A lot of people used Favonius Lance on her, but if you could get the attack buffs, you would take it. Although one downside of this weapon is that the buff only lasts 3 seconds. What does that mean is that she only has team-wide healing for her first burst hit, which means the buffs to your off-field characters are temporary. It will only last 3 seconds. So it's not a permanent team-wide 32% attack buff, don't misunderstand. But it's still a very nice polearm. Me personally, I think I'm going to get it. It's very rare that we get strong support weapons like this, and the fact that it works with a bunch of other characters, not just Escoffier, is very helpful. Let's be honest, characters like Escoffier, Eon-san, Chevreuse, these are some of the strongest supports in the game, so buffing them is incredible. As for her artifact sets, this is very straightforward. The meta just seems to be Golden Troop on Escoffier. Her personal damage is just so good that you don't want to lower it to give a team buffing set. Instead, stuff like Tenacity or Noblesse, give it to the teammates. Like I said, unless you're playing freeze teams with like Farina and Yelan, double Hydra teams like this, Farina's damage is very sacrificable. She's having the least impact in these teams, which means putting Tenacity on her is definitely a good shout. And it's even the case to where you can put Favonius on your Farina, or even like Freedom Sworn on your Farina. If that means you can put more offensive polearms on Shenhe and Escoffier, I think that's going to be worth it. For the DPSs, for example, your Ica doesn't have to use Blizzard Stray anymore, because if you're playing with Farina, you can use Marechaussee Hunter. Now technically, in its optimal conditions, Blizzard Stray is just better than Marechaussee Hunter, because you get 15% cryo versus this is just normal and charge attack 15%. And this is at max 36% crit rate versus Blizzard Stray, which is 40. However, if you're playing her with Farina, this would be universal. It would always work, whereas Blizzard Stray is conditional upon enemies being afflicted by cryo or frozen. But having said that, Marechaussee Hunter, you might not always get the stacks. So for example, if you only manage to get 2 stacks on Ayaka, you get 24% crit rate. At that point, it's very similar to Blizzard Stray without the freeze, 20% crit rate. but then you always get this cryo damage bonus. So overall, I mean, use what you have. If you have good Blizzard Strayer pieces, use those. If you have good Marichose Hunter pieces, or you just want to cover all your bases, get a more universal set, then use those, whatever you have. Same goes for Garnu and most older characters. They can either use Blizzard Strayer or Marichose Hunter. Obviously, if you're playing Risley, he was already using this, so you just keep using that. Same thing with Nivelette. And yeah, the meta with Shenhe is very interesting because it seems that mix sets are going to be even stronger now than they were before. You still could use Noblesse, and I haven't calced it myself, but Fields crafting wise, it does seem to be the case where if you're playing these triple cryo teams, quills are just so much stronger in these new teams than our old teams, to where you do want to maximize this, even if you're losing out on Noblesse buffs. And you get more flexibility as well because Noblesse is only 12 seconds. As we were talking about earlier, Cryo Cup versus Attack Cup on Escoffier. It does seem to be, I would rather use a Cryo Cup if you do have it. You can see here the damage here is 15.5k with a Cryo Cup. If you're using Attack Cup, it can drop to 14.7. But that's assuming equal substats. So me personally, I'm going to maximize my damage and I'm going to use this for a very small healing decrease. Those are the pros and cons. You can pick whichever one you want. Just make sure you're using a golden troop set. Just make sure you're using that. The only thing with this golden troop set is that it buffs her elemental skill damage a lot, but it doesn't buff her burst. So although her burst is a really big multiplier normally, it's not going to be buffed from our artifact set. Lastly, teams, obviously she benefits really well with Ayaka. You can technically play a wide variety of teammates, but there is a clear premium team, which is going to be Ayaka, Shenhe, Farina, Escoffier. If you're a Risley main, you might also be interested in how he works. It seems to be very good. The debate seems to be, do you play Shenhe or do you play Yelan? And again, like we've been saying for this whole video, Shenhe is going to be a massive damage increase over what she normally does. She will increase your Risley's damage a lot, and like I calculated in my previous video, without Shenhe, Risley's damage is going to plummet. But with someone like Yelan, Risley would be more like a driver. But whether you're trying to maximize Risley's damage or you're playing him more like a driver, the teams might be overall very similar. It's just different play styles. So it comes down to your preference, or it might even just come down to which one you have. Use whoever you have. If you don't have Shenhe, play Yelan. Would she be an upgrade in your team? It depends. Like for example with Garnu, she's definitely going to be an upgrade in Garnu's freeze teams, but will it be stronger than your Melt Garnu if she's well invested? It's really hard to say at the moment. Same thing with your Risley. Now what is interesting on the Hydro side is Escoffier should also be very good for characters like Kokomi or Ayato, because these are the characters where before we were playing them in mono Hydro teams, something like this or something like this. Siegrin as well can work, but as I showed earlier, Escoffier has similar buffs to your Shilonen or your Kazuha, but she's actually doing damage, so she should be a big increase in teams like this. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. I will put the link to the original sources in the description if you do want to check those out. If you're going to pull Escoffier, hopefully you've got enough pulls or you get lucky. See you next time. Thanks for watching.
I'd just like to get this, please. Okay. It's 189.99. Oh, no. I don't want to buy it. What? I don't want to buy it. I just want to borrow it. Okay. No. Buy it? At the library or not? I clearly not. This. Take down library. Should I just get a manager? What are you? Are you a librarian now? Shush up. This is a library, not a discotheque. What's his problem? Well, I'm trying to borrow this, but this doofus is trying to tell me you guys aren't a library? Young man, language. What? I didn't even... What? Now, have you got your library card? Yes. Yes, I do. Okay. So let me tell you my story of how I lost a case where I asked the jury to award $6 million. My client was involved in a crash with a shuttles. They drive down the road, they crash into each other. The police officer comes to the scene and says, I'm going to give the shuttle bus a ticket. The shuttle bus caused the crash and turned left to hit. Fast forward all the way to trial, and the defense lawyer stands up to do their cross-examination. And the defense lawyer says, I took your deposition about a year and a half ago. Client says yes. And in that deposition, you were told to be honest and truthful. Just like you're supposed to be honest and truthful, you expect. Yes. Let me just ask you right now, in front of everybody, were you involved in any crashes between the hotel shuttle bus crash and your deposition? My client goes, no. Well, the defense lawyer walks over to his table, comes over to my table, and hands me a paper, and I look at it, and I see it's a review crash report. He takes a copy and hands it to my client. He goes, what's the date of this crash? And it's the date of his deposition. It's such a stupid thing to lie about. The defense was able to say, look, he lies. Don't worry about injuries. He caused the crash. Don't believe the guy who lied. When the jury came back with that verdict, my feeling was, yeah, makes sense. I get it. And I told my client, he lost the case by not telling the truth. It's pretty unhappy. So let me tell you my story of how I lost a case.
You know, when I started making tree-flavored ice creams, I should have known this day would come. The day when trying to make something delicious would no longer suffice, and instead I'd have an idea so terrible that I'd simply have to set aside all reason and find out what that tree would taste like as ice cream. That's right, if these blossoms look familiar, that's because today's tree ice cream is none other than the infamous Bradford pear. Oh, terrible. You're probably well familiar with this tree. It's the one that when spring rolls around, it has a habit of making cities and suburbs smell like rotting fish, trash, or other odors. And with this cream all infused and churned up, my kitchen does smell like a Bradford pear tree right now. So to say this experiment is ill-advised is a bit of an understatement. Alright, let's get this into the freezer to firm up while I head to the garage to make a bowl and spoon out of some Bradford pear wood.
Check this thing out. Check this thing out. This is called a thagomizer, and it did things like this. The thagomizer's very unusual name gives this very unusual cluster of spikes on a stegosaurus's tail. Paleontologists speculate that this cluster of spikes was used for self-defense. Take, for example, this fossilized wound on an Allosaurus's pubic bone. Ouch. There's a whole lot of things on this planet I wouldn't want anywhere near my pubic bone, but this thing has got to be pretty near the bottom of the list. Probably the most interesting thing about the thagomizer is how it got its name. I shit you not, it got its name from a Far Side comic. A fucking Far Side comic. Now, while this isn't like the widely accepted scientific name for this thing, it is kind of the only name for it. Which means that in scientific circles, the name used to describe this has its origins from Gary fucking Larson. That's just incredible. Anyway, if you like cool archaeology stuff, go check me out on YouTube channel, Bitty Bit Man. Check this thing out. This is called a thagomizer, and it did things like this. The thagomizer is a very unusual name given to this very unusual cluster of spikes on a stegosaurus's tail. Paleontologists speculate that this cluster of spikes was used for self-defense. Take, for example, this fossilized wound on an Allosaurus's pubic bone. Ouch. There's a whole lot of things on this planet I wouldn't want anywhere near my pubic bone, but this thing has got to be pretty near the bottom of the list. Probably the most interesting thing about the thagomizer is how it got its name. I shit you not, it got its name from a Far Side comic. A fucking Far Side comic. Now, while this isn't like the widely accepted scientific name for this thing, it is kind of the only name for it. Which means that in scientific circles, the name used to describe this has its origins from Gary fucking Larson. That's just incredible. Anyway, if you like cool archaeology stuff, go check me out on YouTube channel, Bitty Minute Man. Check this thing out. This is called a thagomizer, and it did things like this. The thagomizer is a very unusual name given to this very unusual cluster of spikes on a stegosaurus's tail. Paleontologists speculate that this cluster of spikes was used for self-defense. Take, for example, this fossilized wound on an Allosaurus's pubic bone. Ouch. There's a whole lot of things on this planet I wouldn't want anywhere near my pubic bone, but this thing has got to be pretty near the bottom of the list. Probably the most interesting thing about the thagomizer is how it got its name. I shit you not, it got its name from a Far Side comic. A fucking Far Side comic. Now, while this isn't like the widely accepted scientific name for this thing, it is kind of the only name for it. Which means that in scientific circles, the name used to describe this has its origins from Gary fucking Larson. That's just incredible. Anyway, if you like cool archaeology stuff, go check me out on YouTube channel, Bitty Minute Man. Check this thing out. This is called a thagomizer, and it did things like this. The thagomizer is a very unusual name given to this very unusual cluster of spikes on a stegosaurus's tail. Paleontologists speculate that this cluster of spikes was used for self-defense. Take, for example, this fossilized wound on an Allosaurus's pubic bone. Ouch. There's a whole lot of things on this planet I wouldn't want anywhere near my pubic bone, but this thing has got to be pretty near the bottom of the list. Probably the most interesting thing about the thagomizer is how it got its name. I shit you not, it got its name from a Far Side comic. A fucking Far Side comic. Now, while this isn't like the widely accepted scientific name for this thing, it is kind of the only name for it. Which means that in scientific circles, the name used to describe this has its origins from Gary fucking Larson. That's just incredible.
Lexi.
Habibi, what is Eiffel Tower? Okay, map, say we go straight. You believe map? Yeah, you don't? I have map here. Is this why we've been walking around for an hour? Don't that it's not. I'm just saying, it's the biggest monument here and we can't even see it. Because it is building around you, it covered. But it's way taller than the buildings. Can you just ask a local? A local? A local, yeah, a French person. Absolutely not. Why not? Why? A French person? You ask French person. Okay. Excusez-moi. Yes, American. Oh non, we're not. Nous sommes pas américains. Arabe, libanais, arabe. Quelle direction la tour Eiffel? La tour? Oui. Pourquoi? Pourquoi? Pour visiter? Pourquoi? 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 Architecture, c'est joli. Oui, ok. Ok, quelle direction? Donc vous venez à Paris sans préparation et vous prenez mon temps pour les directions? Typical Arab behavior. No, excusez-moi, I'm sorry, we're just what? You don't have maps on your iPhone 18? 13 Pro Max, actually. Oh no, you want to go Apple Store? No, monsieur, I don't care about the Apple Store. Habibi, où est Tour Eiffel? Oh, chicha? You want chicha? C'est là-bas la chicha? Oh, café trottoir et chicha, c'est trop touristique ça. La tour, non, pas de tour. Find it yourself. Habibi, je te donne $5. Are you bribing me? Oui. You think you can buy me and my honor pour les directions? Oui. Absolument pas. C'est quoi ça? This is a prosper. C'est ça le problème. C'est ça le problème des Arabes ici. Vous pensez que vous pouvez acheter tout. Vous pensez qu'il faut trouver... Ah, monsieur, il n'y a pas un single amount of dollar I will take from you. Ok, vous allez directement. Prenez la première gauche, traversez le pont.
there is going to be a free major content update for the game. And I have early access thanks to 11-Bit Studios, so I can show it off for you guys. And there's going to be quite a few changes to the game. We've got a new map, we've got an overhauled heating system, we've got new optional challenges, a Serenity mode, and also a new modding tool set that people can use. Yes, that's right, modding is finally going out of beta, which means the community can go crazy with their creativity, and I'm excited about that one. And the cool thing is, if you're one of those people who's impatient and you don't want to wait until May 8th, then on the day that I'm releasing this video, May 2nd, and for the rest of this week, there is a beta available on Steam that any of you can join, so you're certainly welcome to play along. But for me, I'm not willing to wait. I want to jump directly into things and get my hands on the new content, because that's what's exciting. And before we go too much further, just in case you guys are interested, do you remember when Frostpunk 2 first came out, and there was this big sweepstakes giveaway for a bunch of Frostpunk 2 themed graphics cards? Well, there's another one of those going on right now. 11-Bit Studios has put together another one of those Gleam sweepstakes, and I'll include a link in the description down below if you guys are interested, because I don't know if you've noticed, it's a little hard to find a good graphics card these days. And these things are beauties. The link includes instructions, but mostly it comes down to following them on X, following yours truly on YouTube, and a handful of other deserving content creators in order to have a chance to win. So go ahead and click on that link in the description down below if that interests you. Not a sponsor, I just thought it'd be kind of cool if someone from my audience wins the cards. And now back to the video. So the Pit is the new map that has been added into the game, centered around a failed city and a ruined generator, but we're going to come back to that in just a bit. Now here's a couple of new things you can see right off the bat. First off, the screen looks completely different, but also you can see Serenity mode over here, a relaxed mode with an easy start, mild weather, abundant resources, no faction wars, and so on. So basically, it's Babby mode. You want to play a nice, beautiful, relaxing city builder and enjoy the world of Frostpunk, you can. Though personally, I prefer a bit of a challenge. Speaking of challenges, there's also over here on the right, the new Tales of the Frostland. Some optional challenges you can add into Utopia mode, including Beacon of Hope, where we have to provide shelters and resources for all newcomers escaping a fallen city, an apocalyptic whiteout that increases the difficulty of the game significantly, that's scary, and also depleted cores, search the Frostland to restore an unfinished IEC core factory, which might mean we could get, like, I don't know, unlimited cores over time. Are we talking an endless mode? Maybe so. Seems pretty darn cool, so let's give it a go. Oh, it feels good to be getting back into the saddle with Frostpunk 2. I love this game. It's been a while since I played, but I do love it. Alright, so we're going for the development of a metropolis for this particular run. I'm not going to cram an entire game into one video. We're here mostly just to explore, just to understand this would be my objective. And actually, we can see down here that developing a metropolis is not our only objective. Now we have these 3 additional options as well, which is pretty cool. My understanding is if you can complete those, what you're going to get as a reward are some special, unique monument hubs, which you can use to decorate your city and make you feel good about yourself. Anyway, welcome to the Pit, the brand new map. Let's take a quick look at it. It is supposedly very large. I think this entire area is buildable. But with these sharp slopes and a lot of rocks and also a ruined city area down over here, you can imagine it's going to be a little bit difficult to find some good space. Let's take a look here and see what kind of resources we have. Quite a lot, including down over here in the ruins. We can see that there's a ton of prefabs, as well as some oil deposits we can take advantage of. Okay, that seems pretty cool. Yeah, I like what I'm seeing there. We've also got a lot of food, tons of materials in one area, a bunch of coal over here, more materials, more coal, some geysers, and our logistics hubs are pretty far away. Yeah, okay, this is a pretty nice looking map. I absolutely love what I'm seeing here. Let's think about what we know we're going to need. We need to get ourselves some coal. Would it make sense to work our way up this slope? It looks like it's going to cost me a lot of materials if I do this. Presumably because I'm working so far uphill. I mean, we could do that. Alternatively, we could try working our way along here. And it would take me a little while, but we would be able to get myself to a pretty large, consistent, infinite source of coal over time. This might be a cheaper, easier way for me to go, at least to get started, so I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. Plus, I know I'm going to need these prefabs up over here. We need to have an early source, or we are going to be very sorry. Plus, we should go ahead and frost break our way to some sources of food. And I think there'll have to be be okay for the moment. We're already having some issues with goods. That's not surprising, but it is a little upsetting. Let's try raising some funds. We know that is a necessary strategy at the higher difficulties, even though I'm not playing on the maximum difficulty here. Let's not fool ourselves. I need all the help I can get. We're also going to need ourselves some housing districts. Now, housing and heat is something that is apparently completely different in this update. So let's go ahead and work on, I can already see a major difference. This is game changing right here. It used to be that if you wanted to get some sort of a heat bonus, an adjacency bonus, you need to have at least 3 tiles touching an already heated zone like this. But then you didn't really have any incentive to build anything closer than that, right? Any further adjacent zones, because then you just waste all the potential heat. It was better to build these kind of weird-shaped districts like this, and then have them kind of overlay with each other in order to stack up as many bonuses as possible. But what I'm seeing here is that actually if we get 6 tiles adjacent, I get 1.5 temperature levels. Okay, that's a game changer right there. Interesting. Very interesting. So we'll go ahead and build out a couple of housing districts this way. Heating is something that got completely changed in the game. And I don't totally know how we're supposed to work around it yet, but we're going to find out. Let's go ahead and place down a council hall, by the way. I know we want to start working on some laws. We also want to get some technology going, so we'll build ourselves a quick research institute somewhere as well. Research and laws also did get some updates. There have been some rebalances on a few things, and also apparently outright new content, new laws that we can pass, a couple of new buildings we can research, some pretty cool stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at our laws and see if anything jumps out at me as being completely new. I may not recognize everything. Hopefully my memory serves. So waste heat conversion, that feels familiar. Outpost operations, new work models, I think that's all the same. Surplus heat, is that new? Surplus heat is used in each district's discretion, yielding no clear benefit. Hold on. We can have heated commons reducing the number of people who die from the cold, which is good. Or heat auctions, if your districts are warm, you get more money. Ooh, I can see that being really good. Okay, what else we got here? House distribution, workplace control. Workplace control, I think, already existed. Might be wrong on that. Criminal reparations looks new, though. Yeah, there's some new content in here, guys. That's interesting. Well, usually one of the first things I like to pass is durable goods and reduce demand for our goods, because we're producing none right now, and it's going to become a problem. Let's see if I can't just go ahead and negotiate with somebody. Somebody wants me to do heat auctions. You know what? I want to pass this anyway. I don't know how good it's going to be. But I know that if I'm already looking to build warm districts, I might as well get as many heat stamps out of the arrangement as possible. So that just makes sense. It stacks up with what I already want to do. And ideally, we don't let people get so cold that people die. So, like, why would I want that overall? No, that doesn't make any sense at all. We don't want to worry about that. Okay, so let's take a look at something brand new here, because heating, as I said, got completely reworked. If I hold down Alt, I can see all the different overlays that exist in the game. This is the basic economy overlay to see the resources. There's also a brand new heat management window to see exactly how the heat is being distributed in the city, and there it is. So the central district is normal, I guess. There's also going to be these housing districts we can see are currently livable, and I can see exactly how much extra heat I am getting. 1.5 from proximity over there. Over here I get 1 from having 4 tiles attached here. Yep, that's interesting. Only 4 tiles though. Wait a minute. So I don't get any extra heat proximity for being next to a warm district? That might change things. We'll take a look at that. I should also be able to spend extra resources in order to boost up the heat in some of these districts, but it costs me a lot of fuel to do that. Also, can I note that some of these districts apparently have key communities for the different factions in the game, which means that certain events that are going to get people sick or killed can specifically attack certain factions. So if I wanted to, I could leave certain factions high and dry to die. Oh, that's interesting and diabolical. I love it. Okay, the idea tree is now available to us. Let's see if we can't find any new technologies. It's difficult to go just from memory, if I'm honest, but we'll see what we can find. Not everything is currently available to us. Looks like actually quite a lot is hidden from us right now. So I won't be able to find everything right now. Getting things like heating insulation and stuff early is usually not a bad idea. However, it's been reworked, unlock the insulate district ability in a district, and permanently increase the temperature level by 1. So it doesn't happen automatically. Now you have to actually spend resources for it. Huh. Okay. Well, I'm gonna research that because that seems pretty good, but what else can I find here under resources? This all looks pretty normal. This all looks normal. I think famine prevention looks different to me. Am I wrong on that? What do we get out of it? I think it's only for equality, so maybe that's why I'm not familiar with it there. Hospitals, youth watchtowers, hubs, this all looks normal as well. Okay, so we'll probably find new things as we go, but yeah, already, these are some pretty major consequences for the game. I'm going to lose a lot of trust and try to rush our research here because I very much want to not have as many technologies as early as we can.
Coach will take it from here. Control breathing. On my mark.
Some material districts up and are running. Cross-breaking area here to work on some industry.
Pyroclastic
So I want to explore this. Hold on. What a meeting thing. Hold on. Wait, what is this?
Switching gears.
So notice,
The end
unlike
of our
the previous
legacy.
I cannot get extra heat by building adjacent to just another housing district. Only connecting to the generator. Huh. Well, that might change things. Let's actually build this because I want to test this and see if that's true. We're at a prefabs, which is really no surprise whatsoever. It's fine. That's why I had to get myself a prefab extraction district. We're really behind on resources, by the way. Like, big time we are behind on resources. So, wait a minute. Hold on.
Skyward.
Sure enough,
Scatter.
this is livable, but notice it's costing me extra heat in order to get this district running. If I didn't do so, it would be chilly. So the further I build
Take a
away
deep
from
breath
the
and
center,
grit your
the
teeth.
harder and harder it gets to stack up my
Skyward.
housing.
Time to relax.
That would be interesting and diabolical.
Coach
Why is
will
the
take it
temperature
from here.
already falling? Why is it already
Quick as a
falling? I'm
flash.
so cold already.
Start the
All right, fine.
Let's
Let's
go.
go to surplus. Want to do auctions? Looks like for the most part are okay with this. Would I be good with just like passing it as is? Can I persuade someone else to go ahead and pass it? Probably not. Let's go ahead and take a risk grade and get above the 51 votes that we needed, so I didn't have to make any promises there. Okay.
Coach will take it from here. Control breathing.
Happy. Let's go to online technology because I'm quite certain that I'm going to need extra core. We're going to struggle with this very early on as it is. And
Skyward.
stamps.
Scatter.
How much
Seize
am
the
I getting
skies.
as far as
Sweet dreams.
the individual
Yachan,
districts?
Tachan, let's
It
go.
does not say in here. I see central
Foot first.
districts. They don't have enough heat.
Try and stop me.
Do I need
Incinerate.
this here to get more? I do. Oh, okay, so being merely a livable isn't enough. You have to be a warm district. And what that means is you basically start trading extra fuel to generate some extra heat stamps. Now that's interesting, but you don't get extra for being super warm. It's only if you're like one level above. So what would happen if I insulated this district? Would that be enough to make it warm? Well, let's go ahead and do it. I'll invest the money. I don't know if these are the right calls, but we're gonna try. So now this is in fact warm. We could pull this back. It looks like it actually increased by more than 1 heat level. I might be wrong on that. Wait, now this district is getting 1.5. Wait. Why are we now getting heat over here? Yeah, everything's warm now. But I should be generating a decent amount of extra heat stamps now. Sure enough, I'm getting 3 extra heat stamps per week. That is not a small amount of early game income. I could see that being good. I'm just confused on why now I'm able to actually get any sort of adjacency bonus. Did it just need a second to calculate? Is that how that works? Well, let's try building an industrial district over here. How's that? We're going to build an industrial district over here, nestled between the extraction districts, because that's huge. So if I take a look here, overdrive, that's coming from my generator, allocated heat. Yeah, no, we're not getting any sort of adjacency bonus yet. Maybe that will change later, I don't know. Swap this over to making some goods for a second. That solves that problem. We're up to 17 heat stamps per week.
Watch this!
Well, let's get ourselves a coal mine. The coal mine will eventually get an infinite source over here, so I know I'm going to do that.
Quick as a flash.
We're burning through our stockpile right now, and that never makes me feel good. And now, this does say that it's got to cross the
Let's move.
I also
Let's
noticed
ride.
by a link
Red from the
here,
sky.
warming neighborhoods, this district is increasing its neighbors' temperature. Okay, so there's kind of like a map here as far as how to read this. This radiating thing here is going to actually Huh. Maybe the trick is these need to actually be warm districts, not just livable districts. So you want to have a very
Skyward! Got
I'm going to go ahead and
Turn
start
that
passing
frown upside
these
down.
development pepper here. Should possibly pass. I just need to get myself a bit of extra green
Coach will take it from here.
On my mark! Pyroclastic surge!
Since prefabs do end up being a pretty sizable problem for you at some point. So if I turn off the overdrive here, I'm not using enough, which is interesting
Rev the
because I have enough
engines.
coal. So that's been changed too. What is this? Heat allocation. Right now 90 fuel, but I've got 230. If I bump this up, I have to click these buttons now. So 180 fuel is being used in order to produce enough heat. Yeah, there's a bit more micromanagement that's going to be necessary here, apparently. That's interesting, though. And yeah, sure enough, we can now see that these districts are indeed radiating some heat. This is interesting. I'm not really sure what to make of all of this yet, but it is interesting. It does give me a lot more granular control, though, of my heat. Like, if I'm desperate and I want to turn down some heat over here and just make this chilly, I can do things like that. Lots of implications to unpack here. What do you mean there's a bunch of people homeless? I'm working on it! I do feel like the extra heat stamp generation, though, is huge from the heat auctions. That would mean that I could actually consider passing a bunch of different laws that sometimes I would normally ignore, like, let's say, giving out some, like, kind of the equivalent to, like, a universal basic income and stuff, like providing the necessities to people for free and stuff, right? Normally I wouldn't care about doing things like that because I don't want to spend the extra heat.
You're up!
But if I have
Reveal! Don't blink! Hey!
Also, apparently, okay, I think one of the special objectives I have here is putting some pressure on the people I wasn't expecting.
Grow!
We have to
The
protect
Temple of
the
Wisdom!
Until we do so, trust increase and tension increases.
One shot.
That's part of the piece of
Descend. Once again.
Okay, so I didn't think that was going to put pressure on me right away, but it looks like it does. So we need to start working on landscape logistics, but I don't have enough money.
With sword comes shadow.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Looks like my new faction is forming the Overseers. They like a bunch of things that I have already passed. Okay, good. Progress, merit, and tradition. Doesn't seem so bad. In fact, they've already unlocked me.
Nowhere to hide.
Let's boost up our efficiency for everything. And work our way over to the logistics point so I can get that marker beacon. Temperature drops again. So periodically I am going to have to keep coming over here to the generator and bumping this up. Which, yeah, you have to... the buttons didn't quite work the way I expected it to, but we're going to be able to spend up to 480. Oh, I think this is... Okay, hang on. Is this a button where you press as much as you can while still maintaining a positive in your bank? Got it. But this lets you go over it, which we have to just go ahead and start dipping into our stockpiles now in order to have a chance at survival. Okay, I'm following so far. This makes sense. It's still going to cost me an absolute ton, though. At some point, we'll want to have to keep toggling the overdrive for the generator in order to not have to spend quite so much on a few of these districts. And this is where the insulation suddenly starts to look a lot more exciting. So we've already exhausted all of our prefab construction over here. All right. Kind of sucks, but it is what it is. We will be able to start working towards some new sources over here.
Huh.
And that's fine. Obviously, getting down into the ruins has a ton. But one thing I did notice as I was looking around here is it looks like if we get into the pits where the city used to be, we will get a pretty sizable boost to our heat because we are protected from the cold and the wind, which makes sense. But disease can go up. So we have to be wary of going into the pit. There's going to be a very strong push to have plenty of medical support. Interesting. So very, very interesting. Let's place this logistics hub. We need to do it. I do like, by the way, that there is this little symbol here letting me know that I'm actively wasting heat. So if I turn this down by a couple of levels, it turns out we're completely fine. This one still needs something, not quite enough proximity heat, but there we go. And maybe I'm not quite willing to make this warm right now. Maybe I'd be willing to just go ahead and go down to a livable level for now. Some places are warm, generating me money. Some places are not, but they're still fine, and I have a surplus of coal. All right, the logistics district has been built. We need to maintain a beacon outpost. So what does that mean exactly? What do you guys say is a beacon outpost? How do I find that? Let's go to the Frostland and see what we're supposed to do. Is it this? Ah, the beacon outpost location. Okay, so we'd have to construct a beacon here. Heat stamps and prefabs connected up to the city. Got it. Well, let's go ahead and launch our first expedition into this area. I do think that some of the map tiles here were supposed to be a little bit tweaked as well. There should be a bit more replayability and variation between maps, supposedly, which would be exciting. I like that idea. Whoa, why did my trust just fall down to 0, though? Hold on, I'm at -2 all of a sudden. Is it because I didn't get the gosh? Really? Hold on. Because I haven't got the beacon up? Did I just lose a whole load of trust? Well, that's a problem. I could spend some heat stamps and try to solve it, but like, I mean, the city's looking good. What are you all complaining about? Have any emergencies? There's some minor squalor. Yeah, but that's about it. It's not that bad. Turns out I really should have gone for this, like, immediately. Oh my god. Well, we found a coal mining complex. We found a crashed wagon leading for a source of materials. Yeah, that's all well and good. We've got to get this connected, like,
Rise with the sun.
just so I can get this sucker built up. Oh my gosh. They're gonna murder me. My people are gonna murder me. This is getting capture difficulty. I can actually see this map being extremely challenging. I can see it being very challenging on capture difficulty if you have all of these extra objectives.
Time to relax.
Okay, challenge mode for the game, accepted. I see it. No, stop, gosh dang it, extremely
Control
degrees for not building the outpost. Have you people literally building the trail to do it now, okay? I'm sorry it wasn't my first priority. What do you mean it's not connected? It's gotta be connected. Never mind. I'm an idiot, we're fine. Here's where this gets confusing to me sometimes. This is an entrance to the city because it's where I built my logistics hub. This is not. I built to this thinking it's logistics. It's not logistics because this is actually going to be some sort of little treasure thing here, but it's not a logistics entrance. So that's my mistake there. That is my mistake. Okay. The point is I now can construct the beacon. We have given them hope. Oh, please tell me I have given them hope. Trust has been restored. Oh, look at that trust way
Turn that
up.
frown
Look at them. Oh my god, you people scared the frick out of me. So, an apocalyptic whiteout is set to hit the city in 320 weeks. And it looks like with the beacon of hope, we are going to be having huge waves of people joining into the city. That is sort of what I'm getting at this.
Skyward.
Oh god, yeah, the difficulty is ramping up steadily. I can see it happening, and I'm powerless to stop it. Well, not powerless, but it's getting scary. But our economy is looking pretty good with a few exceptions. More people live among us. Okay, that's fine. You know, I'll just go ahead and expand out some districts. It does seem like it's worth expanding districts.
Time to relax.
But it seems like if I were to have a huge bonus of my like in one little area over here, I want to have as many tiles in that plus that I can. So building a lot of little housing districts is not going to be as good as getting tons of heat concentrated into very heavily expanded districts. I don't know if that made any sense, but in my head it does. Oh god, I need to get myself some more coal production, like ASAP. We are actively in a bit of trouble here. Get this built. Oh, I'm completely out of coal over here. Well, that would be a big part of the problem. Come on, get that coal up and running. Get that coal up and running, for God's sake. Oh, gosh dang. There we go. All right, we're back to being all right here. And the Bohemians have now formed as an opposition faction to the Overseers. And, of course, they hate me. I do feel like Hub's got an improvement here as well. Call me crazy. Hold on. So I built this up. And I don't know if I can, let me just cancel it real quick and see if, no, never mind. So what this is going to be doing here, instead of having to connect to a certain number of tiles in order to have any impact whatsoever, now this hub is reducing, I want to say 30% of workforce requirements over here in the industrial and 15 in this extraction. So the way that that's different is, again, it used to be that if you place this, it needs to have like a certain number of adjacent tiles before it really has any meaningful impact. Now we get some sort of an effect just for placing it nearby, even if it wouldn't be the same number of tiles as before, if that makes sense. Hubs are more useful consistently, which is great. I'm having some serious issues now here, though, too. Hold on. So if I have the overdrive off, it looks like I literally cannot produce enough heat to meet the demands of the city. Uh-oh. Can I go to some of these and allocate more coal? Okay. It looks like I literally don't have the capacity with my generator to do what I needed to do. Hold on. So what about using heating hubs? Are these useful now? Every tile within a 2-tile radius gets an extra temperature level. More heat. costs some workforce, but costs materials, but not other things. So if I were to place this here, I could get at least a quarter, if not half a temperature level in a few places. So actually the shape of my hubs and how they get placed is still very relevant. But since this is getting further outside of the city's range, this outer area here is the coldest. Therefore, getting a whole extra level here is probably very helpful. Oh gosh, dang, this might actually change things quite a lot. Where you actually need to start placing down hubs further and further away. If so, that's actually more reminiscent of the original Frostpunk. Because it used to be, obviously, the further you got away from the generator, you'd have to actually start building out your heating hubs in these kind of big ring circles in order to make your city in Frostpunk 1 better. That's actually effectively what I'm doing now. It doesn't look the same, but it is effectively what's happening. Guys, this is starting to feel a little bit familiar. Am I crazy here, or is this actually amazing? All right, so temperature goes up a little bit. That helps. It takes some strain off of the system, but it's not enough, obviously. Still, that's at least a couple districts with some extra help. But I very badly need to have myself some extra temperature and stuff here. Adaptive pumps from the Bohemians. Or the oil pumps, but I don't have any oil. So, do I have to go with the Bohemians? I mean, it certainly seems like I need to get my oil for sure. This could be relevant though. Efficient circuits. Increasing the heat allocation level of the district costs less. Yeah, so I'm having to do that right now anyway. A lot of these districts just shield. So if it costs me less heat, this takes a huge strain off. But we've got to start working our way down here toward this oil. I delayed on this for too long as I continue to explore, and now it's going to come back to bite us if we don't find a way to get it. Found a bunch of things out here in the Frostlands. A bunch of things about sources of food and so on. That way too, a nice port. Oh, there we go, we found the factory. Our scouts uncovered a massive pre-frost factory half buried under decades of depleted snow. It seems established by the Imperial Exploration Company to mass produce the cores. So we investigated the site by trade. We might be able to find out how to do things too. I mean, we're not going to finish this in this video, I'm well aware, but I'd like to at least see what is involved in this. What would it take to start getting the IEC factory up and running? And a whole load of new people just got added into my city. Oh my god, we got 4,000 newcomers? Oh my gosh! That is a lot of mouths to feed! So much housing! So many everythings! Oh god! Alright, let's investigate the site over here. I want to see what this is. The factory uncovered in the Frostland was indeed designed to produce Cores Project Pi. A marvel of engineering, our scouts uncovered critical documents detailing the routes of 9 convoys that were en route to the facility but never made it. Find the buried convoys and excavate them to find the missing parts of the core factories. There's now 9 locations I have to find in the Frostland in order to activate this, so it's a mass exploration quest. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? I'm fascinated here. Absolutely fascinated by what's happening. Go to the generator upgrade and try to get this thing working on oil. Just because I'm so desperate for heat at this point, I feel like I have to go for the more efficient option, even though normally this might not be what I want to go for. So let's get an oil extraction district up and running. It's going to increase my disease by a sizable amount. Crime is growing because I have so much population. Squalor's looking pretty bad. I'm not producing enough food anymore, nowhere near enough goods. And I have nowhere near enough heat stamps because it's so gosh dang cold. I'm almost out of coal. Almost. But there's the oil that I was looking for, so now we can start stockpiling that. There's the generator upgrade. Okay, go back to Central. I need a whole lot more heat stamps. Alright, who can give me heat stamps? Somebody fund my projects. It's important. Do you want to die? I don't have my freaking steam cores. No! I thought I started with a steam core somewhere. Where did I spend it? I have no idea. I've got no idea, and I think I may have just screwed myself horribly. Oh, that sucks so much. That sucks so incredibly much. Why don't I have any of the steam cores? I thought I started the game with one. I could have sworn I did. This is going to be one of those moments where I'm panicking, and as a result, I'm missing something that probably would be obvious. For whatever reason, it's not jumping out at me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I didn't start before. And if that's the case, then I really should have considered maybe going exploring a lot more aggressively than I did. Oh, Oh, and now the people want me to improve the Beacon of Hope. Not to sound ungrateful, but there's people getting sick on the way here, and it's entirely preventable. How would you want me to improve the outpost so that people have a chance to rest and be healthy on the way here, huh? If we do this, trust rises marginally. Yeah, these extra challenges are really making the game a lot tougher. Like, a lot tougher, I am not gonna lie. I'm also completely out of any additional materials over here. I've only just barely gotten started working down over here. Disease is on the rise. A new objective for depleted cores. Well, cool. Do not let cold fall to catastrophic cold before I repair the core factory. Oh, great. So if I get down to catastrophic cold, it sounds like I just outright lose now. Ah! Oh, all right. Well, things are getting a little out of control. Could I find my way to dig myself out of this mess? Maybe. But I will say, the increased population sounds great. But only have enough chance to keep up with it. Otherwise, it becomes extremely difficult with that kind of rapid growth. I think the core factory could be a really fun thing to add into the game. I like the extra work, the exploration. The apocalyptic whiteout scares me a bit, though. Glad to know exactly when that's coming, but that's scary. And the heating chambers. Man, I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and really think about how to make this work efficient. I like that I don't have to build bizarrely shaped instruments. It feels like now it's like Frostpunk 1. You want to build out in flavors, right? Flavors of an onion. And then when you get too far away, there's actually a strong incentive to make sure you get some of these heating hubs. In fact, hubs in general just seem easier to work with. I don't know if they've been rebalanced enough where they actually are still worth using in most cases. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. But at least the fact that I don't have to build my districts in weird ways, leaving intentional holes to have enough adjacent tiles to get these things active is good. I like that I still get benefit no matter where I place them. That's huge. But the laws seem pretty neat. I think that the options should on changes. Still haven't found any of the new things. That does disappoint me. I want to know where they are. Possibly further along. Drugs manufacturing, that exists before already.
The victor
right?
is...
Yo, what the fuck?
That I don't know. Anyway, do I think this is a cool free update for the game? Yes. Free new content, adding in new challenges, and balancing out the game in ways that I have not seen before. Always exciting. 100% glad to see it. But what this tells me is I really need to think about starting up a new series of Utopia Builder in the pit, on captain difficulty, with all three of those objectives turned on. That would be an unbelievably hard challenge. Captain plus difficulty, maybe Captain plus plus. Way cool. Well done, 11-Bit Studios. Very well done. That is enough to at least keep you quite interested until the next DLC does come out. If you guys want to try out the beta for yourself, again, that is available on Steam for this weekend only. Otherwise, it's going to be pushed to everybody starting on May 8th. And don't forget, if you want to have a chance of winning that sweepstakes with the GPU, there'll be that link to claim down below. Totally optional. Again, I'm not sponsored. I just love 11-Bit Studios. I love Frostpunk 2. And I like the idea of people getting some GPUs. So that's up to you guys. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative in some way. If so, I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next
Rise with
time.
us! Skyward! Scatter!
Turn that frown upside down.
Controlled breathing! Burn it down! Yeah! Skyward!
Faster, stronger.
On Pyroclastic Surge! Incinerate! Light it up! Yeah! Scatter! Skyward! Rise with the sun! Yeah!
Time to relax. Yeah! Skyward! Scatter!
Time to relax.
Light it up! Oh! Yeah! Scatter! Skyward!
Quick as a flash. Start the
Light of the blazing sun! Yeah! Full throttle!
Wait, how did you like that? I should look at. Maybe not.
Completing all achievements in a single run. That's what we had in mind when we thought of a one-run challenge in Risk of Rain 2. While obviously some achievements are impossible in a single run, we wondered just how close we could possibly get to this goal. But this seemingly simple goal put us through over a month of research, testing, and seemingly endless suffering. The first thing I did was look up what other people did on YouTube, and oh look at that, a Wooly video called the Full One Run Challenge. And I look at it and I see that it's 11 different runs between parts 1 and 2, which doesn't really make sense to me for a one run challenge. Apparently, he meant one run on each available survivor, which is actually a really cool challenge, but you wouldn't be able to tell that from the title. Personally, I feel like it's no longer a one run challenge if it's actually an 11 run challenge. And he did kind of take my video title, so I'm gonna call it the actual one run challenge and hope that people get the difference and it won't get lost to the YouTube algorithm. Like, share, and subscribe, by the way. I put a lot of work into this one. I assume that if you're here, you know how Risk of Rain 2 works, but if you don't, there are 5 different stages that can be repeated endlessly. And the map for each stage is chosen randomly depending on what stage you are. For example, there are a few options for stage 5 maps that you'll see repeating every 5 stages. This makes the game theoretically endless, but there's a catch. The difficulty of the game scales with time. So hypothetically, if your achievement hunting in a single run takes over 8 hours, the enemies are truly out for blood. The rules are simple: using a completely fresh save, complete as many of the 121 Steam achievements as you can while only starting a single run. Notice this does not mean the unlockables, but honestly it doesn't really make a difference as most of the unlockables require me to end my run, which I can only do once. But this also means I need both DLC, but I already have that, and you're welcome for my money, Gearbox. And unlike Wooly, I will not be doing a run with each character, so that means I have to pick a character at the beginning of the run and stick with it the entire way through. Normally, this would make a lot of achievements unattainable as they are locked behind these tedious character-specific challenges. And if you can only pick one character, this means we lose access to a lot of achievements. But there is a solution for this, and that solution is the Artifact of Metamorphosis. The Artifact of Metamorphosis is unlocked by putting this artifact code in stage 5, and it will randomly re-roll your character every time you enter the artifact portal. And you can enter it every time you loop. So the idea is, by looping an ungodly amount of times, you can theoretically play as every single survivor. And while items unlocked will only be available when starting my next run, survivors unlocked during my run can randomly be selected using Metamorphosis, which we actually confirmed in testing, so we knew that this was going to be possible. So with this, I went through a spreadsheet of achievements, and with a lot of research and testing, I created a plan to collect as many achievements as possible in a singular run. When checking if the achievements were possible, I didn't really consider the difficulty of completing these, only that they were theoretically possible.
Alright, that's going to be it for the stream. Good luck, have fun, thanks for watching, I'll see you next time.